First, just thank you everyone for joining. My name is Helen, and I think we're going to go ahead and do this thing. So, just to start off, I want to share a little bit about myself and why I'm so passionate about gap years and international education. To tell you the quick story, I'm from North Carolina. I dreamt up the idea of travel my whole life. And in my senior year of high school, my family realized how stressed I was with the idea of college. Even though I was excited to take some sort of big step next, they decided that college probably wasn't the right move for me. And my mom actually brought me the idea of taking a gap year. And here I am many years later, still talking about it every single day. Um, I ultimately decided on the gap year so that I could have this supported travel experience, gain some maturity before college, and build a lot of confidence. I ended up going to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Um, during which I actually did an internship with EF Gap Year. So we're hearing from some of our interns tonight. So excited for them to have their moment in the spotlight. The internship experience inspired me to want to work with EF post grad. So I went and worked on two of our semester long programs, leading two groups of students as one of two staff members that go along with each group, named the Student Life Coordinator. And I was a support person for students along the way. So I have seen the programs from both my angle as a student, having done a program before college. I have supported our students during the day in and the day out and the ups and downs of travel. And my brother also just got back from a semester this spring, so I know exactly what it's like to have a family member out there in the world and what this decision making process can look like from all the angles. And now my role, I'm a gap year consultant here. I work with students and families every day to figure out if this is the right fit for them in their next steps, wherever they are in that college decision or career decision making process. And with all that being said, like I mentioned, we have two amazing EF Gap alums, Sarah and Taylor, joining us tonight to share a little bit more about their EF Gap experiences. But before we dive into the discussion, I'm going to give you some context on who we are here at EF, why we do what we do with these gap year programs, and the different programs we offer. This might be brand new to some of you. Some of you may already know some of these details, so stay tuned, and we're going to get to the conversation with our awesome alum interns very shortly. But let's dive into the details. Just to give you a high level picture, EF is the world leader in international educational travel. For nearly 60 years now, we've helped millions of students and people see new places, explore new cultures, learn new languages, and discover new things about the world and themselves. Our EF Educational Tours is the largest provider of its kind, sending hundreds of thousands of students around the world each year. Perhaps some of you, or maybe some of you know, have spent time studying at an EF language school in one of 50 destinations around the world, where we've helped teach more than a dozen different languages to millions of students over the past 60 years. Or if you took an eighth grade trip to DC, it's highly likely you did so with EF, as each summer EF brings thousands of young students to explore and learn in the capital. EF is an organization of more than 50,000 staff members working in more than 600 schools and offices across 100 countries worldwide. I always get tripped up with the numbers here. It's a lot of zeros, all bound by the mission of opening the world through education and the promise of real world learning that inspires personal growth. And this is a mission and promise we've delivered on for the past 60 years. EF is actually a sprawling global organization that's made up of 17 different divisions, including EF Gap Year on the right of the screen. And I like this chart. It lets you see all the different types of endeavors we take on. And let's zoom into EF Gap Year specifically and talk a bit about how this program fits into our global mission and what it is that EF Gap Year really delivers for the students who join the programs at this stage in the educational journey. Just starting a bit with who our GAP students tend to be. At 18 years old, most students in America have been on what feels like an educational conveyor belt over the past 10 or 15 years that doesn't really slow down. And at this inflection point, They are staring down the next phase, whether it's college or university, along with the cost, pressure, expectations that they need to really make the next few years count. And this can feel like the final stretch. The stakes are really high, and understandably, many of the students we see on our programs are in need of a pause to reflect on where they've been, where they are now, and where they want to go from here. And we also see many of our students coming into the programs with a high level of self awareness and intention, understanding the power and value of using this space differently than some of their peers might choose to. And on the other side of this equation, we have the world that students are stepping into, a world of turbulence and rapid change, and also enormous opportunity. And this traditional education conveyor belt, if you will, tends to keep students focused on the next step, leaving little room to look around. But by stepping outside that structure and immersing yourself in a world beyond your own, it can really broaden your perspective, strengthen essential soft skills, and prepare you to navigate whatever comes next with confidence and adaptability. So, with this context in mind, let's talk a little bit about the programming at EF Gap Year, and then about how these programs are constructed. So, just to start with the different lengths of program, these are the two options that we offer here at EF, the EF Gap semester and the EF Gap Year. Our gap semesters are 10 weeks, starting in the fall and the spring, and many students will stack those programs to make a full gap year as well. And then the full EF Gap Year experience is a 23-week program that departs each fall and mirrors a more traditional academic year with 2 semesters and a winter break back home. Both are incredible options, and knowing everyone's needs are unique, our team is here to work with you, as we do for thousands of students and families every year, and to help figure out which program is right for you. Let's focus on the signature 23-week gap year program called the EF Gap Year. This one allows you to experience both guided exploration and cultural immersion in one incredible, one of a kind year. As I mentioned, the EF Gap Year program is broken into 2 semesters with a winter break in between. The first semester is all about guided exploration and sinking into the incredible year, and you'll be traveling to 12 cities across 3 continents with a small cohort of students. Each week, you will be exploring a new city by engaging with specific themes and topics that foster global awareness, as well as personal and social development. Starting in Europe, you will hop from London to Paris to Florence to Zurich to Munich and finally Prague. It's quite a mouthful. And then you will fly across the world altogether to spend 3 weeks in Australia, visiting Sydney, Cairns, and Melbourne. And then, I'm not even done yet, you will finish up your first semester in Thailand, getting to know Bangkok, Krabi, and Koh Lanta. And by the end of this first semester, as you can imagine, you will be deemed a world traveler and step into the winter break completely transformed. In the second semester, on the other hand, this is all about cultural immersion as you discover what it's like to live independently abroad while learning a language or interning. You can opt to live in various incredible cities around the world, from Barcelona to Seoul to Tokyo, and learn the language at one of EF's language schools, or become a local in the global city of Stockholm, Sweden, and intern at a company to start building your resume and future. You will return from your gap year with a greater understanding of global issues, having discovered new interests and gained the confidence to forge your own path forward, and the gap year truly has it all. And to just talk about our awesome gap semester programs too, these are perfect for students who might be deferring, graduating early, or just want to take a break before, during, or after their college experience. All of the gap semester programs are built around and based on guided exploration with a hands-on learning component in certain areas of the world. With the Changemaker in the upper left here, you will adventure your way through the diverse ecosystems of Latin America while working with local communities to learn about sustainability in action. The Voyager is all about embracing your adventurous side as you explore the natural wonders of Australia and discover the rich cultures of Thailand and Japan. And finally, the Pathfinder pulls together themes around environmental science, history, business, and culture while visiting more than a half dozen iconic destinations around Europe. And keep in mind that as we go, that regardless of which EF Gap program you enroll on, here's what's included. So all of your airfare, round trip flights and transportation, on the ground transportation by bus, train, or boat, your accommodations in hotels or hostels or homestays, many of your on program meals, all of those activities and excursions, and our 24/7 EF Global support. And I want to zoom in on the last two actually for a moment. For or from this moment right now, all the way through when you're out on the road, you're going to have an amazing team of people around you at all times. You will, of course, and most importantly, have the cohort that you travel with. As Sarah and Taylor will tell us, these are totally your people. As you travel the world together, you will create bonds and friendships and memories that will live long after the program itself ends. You will have your field directors and local guides, and the true magic of EF GAP programs are these on the ground staff. Our local guides and field directors provide the expertise and insider perspective that really makes for an unforgettable trip. You will also have your program advisor. Every student is paired with a program advisor who will be a mentor and main support person from enrollment to touchdown back home. And then lastly, you will have your site directors and your student life coordinators. And as I mentioned, I was a student life coordinator last year. These are the students go to on the ground support and community builders and are responsible for ensuring physical safety, emotional safety, a healthy group dynamic, and they're just a great shoulder to lean on throughout the entire duration of your program. You can ask any EF Gap alum about these folks. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about them tonight from our awesome interns, and you're bound to get endless gushing stories from anyone you speak to on how amazing these folks are. And having been on many EF trips myself and spent time with so many of our field staff, I can't say enough good things about them. Ultimately, no matter which program, destinations, or configuration you choose, all of our programs are really built as a gateway to success in college and beyond. Obviously, this was a really quick, high level run through of our offerings, and we're not going to go into depth on pricing and planning tonight. But we want to switch over to our conversation with our alums. But hopefully, you're feeling inspired and energized by all of this. Again, or I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but if you have questions, throw them in the chat as we go. We will come to them at the end. And then you will also be connected with your gap year consultant for anything really specific. But with that, let's have Sarah and Taylor come on back and we can go ahead and jump in. Let's see if we get the tech up and running here. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can see our lovely faces. Woo! All right, Sarah, do you want to take us away and just start with telling us a little bit about who you are and where you're calling in from tonight and a little bit about your gap in college journey?
Yeah, so I am calling in from Tampa, Florida tonight. I am graduating from the University of Tampa in the fall with a BA in theater, and I took my gap year in 2021 to 2022. I took the full year. Yeah, I was committed to the University of Tampa. They didn't have housing. They did this to like a bunch of freshmen. So I took a scholarship that they were offering to anybody willing to defer, and I went on my gap year. I studied language in Rome. I did the European immersion. I had my internship. So it was a really great life-changing experience for me. And now I'm interning at EF.
Woohoo! And we're so glad to have you. Taylor, you want to give us your little rundown and where you're coming in from tonight?
Yes. So hi everyone. I'm Taylor. I'm calling in from Charleston, South Carolina. I actually graduated high school and I went to college. I went to North Carolina State University for my freshman year. Um, it wasn't for me, and I just wasn't feeling college. So that's actually why I decided to take a gap. I took my gap year. I traveled to Costa Rica with EF, and then I also did the 10-week Voyager program. And now I go to school in Charleston. I go to the College of Charleston. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor. And let's actually dig into that really quick. Can you fill me in a little bit on what you were feeling at school that made you look into other options and kind of what you were missing out on and not getting from school at that time?
Yeah, of course. So I actually the grade above me, a girl graduated who did the full year program with EF, who's actually in Sarah's cohort, crazy enough. But I saw that she did it, and I honestly thought about it before I decided to go to college, but then I was like, no, like that's crazy. Like I'm just gonna go to college like everyone else, blah blah blah. I never really wanted to go to NC State. No hate if anyone on here likes it. It's a great school, just wasn't for me. But it was never my top choice. I went there and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't enjoying my major. I just kind of felt out of place and not like it was what was best for me in the moment, and that there was like something else that might be more fulfilling for me at that time in my life. And so I actually reached out to the girl who I knew did EF, and I called her and she filled me in on everything. I talked to my college advisor and my family, and I was like, okay, you know what? This might be crazy to take a gap year after already starting college, but I think this is what's best for me. Um, and honestly, like when I finally made the decision, it was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders because I was dreading going back. And I was like, you know what? College is always going to be there. It's okay if I'm on a different timeline from everyone else. Like, I have to put myself first and like do what's best for me. And I would make that decision to take a gap year a million times over. I'm so glad I did. And it like totally changed the whole trajectory of my life. So, my freshman year might have sucked, but I would relive it to be able to experience my gap again because
Mm.
I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm so grateful that NC State did not work out for me.
I love that. I mean, I don't love that it didn't work out, right? But I like that you were able to pivot and find something more inspiring. And Sarah, so I know there were some logistical things with your university that pointed you in the direction of not actually starting that fall. But can you tell me what you were looking to get out of your GAP program? And did you have any like specific goals going into it?
Yeah, travel has always been really emphasized in my family. My dad studied abroad, and he always encouraged my brother and I to pursue opportunities abroad as well. So I always kind of had that like desire instilled in me. And so when I knew that I had to take time off, I already knew right away that I wanted to spend that traveling in some way. I was looking into volunteering and stuff, and EF Gap Year, I had like an email from them in my inbox or something just by chance. And it
Classic.
ended up being the right fit for me. I didn't necessarily have a specific goal because I knew that afterwards I was going to attend my 4 year university and I wanted to be prepared for that and, get something out of this gap year. But I think I like intrinsically knew that there was something on a gap year that I wasn't going to learn in school that I needed to learn before I went to school. And it's
Mm.
just like a very internal call that I think some people have and some people find on their gap year. And like you can really see it, I think, in the way I live my life now as well.
Mm. I hear this sentiment. I mean, I had it myself, so can relate, but I hear this also every day. When I'm working with students, it is some sort of internal call that you have to do something a little bit different. Taylor, I'm curious, did you have it? I mean, I know you were rerouting what you were doing with your academic career, but what goals did you have going into this year of travel?
So for me, my main focus was going into my gap year, and I knew I'd always, like Sarah said, had an interest in traveling. I'd always had a big interest in doing service work, especially abroad. Like my family, that's something that was really instilled in me through my grandparents because that was something that was super important to them. And I just knew that like I wanted to take a gap to find my passion and like what I wanted to pursue in life, like career wise, and also just like what I enjoyed doing. And I know it sounds cliche, but like find myself and just have that personal growth because I am actually younger for my grade. So, like, technically, I shouldn't have even been a freshman in college. I should have still been a senior in high school. So, I feel like that also contributed to like the way I was feeling. Like, I was not as mature or like ready for that as everyone else was, which I think also like made me feel the way that I did.
Yeah, I hear you. Amazing. Um, let's shift a little bit to when you arrived on the program. And I know a lot of students I work with, and again, how I felt when I was going into this. Super nervous for day one or that initial flight out or what that might look like. Sarah, can you tell me a little bit about how you felt when you arrived on program and if it took some time to like get in the groove of everything?
Yeah, so I arrived in program. I think when I was on the gap year, you arrived in Paris. And that was really, it was obviously like nerve wracking and exciting, kind of the same way it is to like go into your freshman year of college or start a new significant journey in your life. But I found that the immersion was really structured. So we hit the ground running. And there was like a long period of time where there just really wasn't time for me to miss people or be homesick or feel out of the groove. I was just experiencing 1,000 different things and I was trying to embrace it all and feel it all to its full extent. And then after those few weeks and I started to settle in, a few of my friends did experience a moment where they needed to adjust and kind of, evaluate how they were doing. And EF was really supportive of them. I didn't really have that experience from the beginning. I just kind of was had things all the time that I was like fully immersed in. So I was really lucky in that sense.
Hmm. Staying busy and distracted and excited is so helpful when you're thinking about homesickness. So I'm glad that was your experience. Taylor, what about you? How was that initial start on such a new experience?
It was terrifying. I cried my way through airport security, and I vividly remember there was like a family behind me, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine. I'm just like, flying across the world by myself for 10 weeks." And they talked to me, and they were so nice to me, and they made me feel so much better. And I was like, you know what? They were like, "You can do this. Like, this is awesome." And I was like, you know what? You're right. And when I got there, I was just so happy to like have this opportunity. And I was like, okay, I really just need to like soak this all in and just enjoy it because this is crazy that I'm in Australia right now. Like, what the heck? Um, and everyone was just so nice, like meeting your roommates, it's so exciting. And I did have a moment of where I was like, okay, wow, like this is real life. Like I can't call my mom right now because of the time change. But the people you're surrounded with are so supportive because you're all feeling the same way. The SLCs are there for you. And so that made me feel a lot better. But I will say, like, you do have your moments. But for me, I was like, okay, like, this is fair. Like, you're so far from home. You're in a foreign country where you know no one or nothing. But you all have people to lift you up. And my friends were like, come on, like, let's go do this. My friends being people I met literally like 5 hours before. But they're just like the best people, and everyone feels the same way. So it's kind of like you can just be together and like help each other not feel that way. So it was scary, but after like the first 2 days, I was like, this is awesome.
Hmm. That actually is the perfect pivot. I might redirect this question back at you. Can you tell me about how it was to build relationships and friendships with the other students on program and about the community?
I mean to do that, I pressed the wrong button. Um yeah. Well, for both programs that I did with EF, I actually met people in the airport and we had like the same like layover and then we had the same flight there. So it was so funny. I was just like standing there and you like see people who are kind of your age and then you kind of like give each other a look and then you're like, "Are you doing this?" And they're like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Oh my gosh." And so I remember we just like all get picked up from the airport together. We're all like on the bus together. Everyone's just like chatty, like, "Oh, like, what's your name? Where are you from?" Blah, blah, blah. And I feel like everyone, like, part of doing this experience is like you want to meet new people, you want to make new friends. And so everyone was very excited just to get to know each other and like explore the new place we were in. Like, immediately, there was just like a huge group of us who instantly clicked and like stayed together the whole time. Like, and it's just such a nice feeling. Everyone in my cohort was so nice and welcoming. Like everyone always had someone to like be with or like do something with, which I really appreciated. And like even to this day, literally like a few days ago, I was doing homework and I got a FaceTime call from a few of my friends from the Voyager trip. So it's just like nice. Like we're still in contact, and it's crazy because we literally knew nothing about each other, but we were attached at the hip because we were like, well, looks like we're spending 10 weeks with each other. And it's just crazy how close we got so fast with
Mm.
like knowing nothing about each other.
I am remembering I was there on airport arrival day for your group in Melbourne, Australia. I was there as a student life coordinator of another group, and it's always so exciting. Some folks are really nervous, some folks are extroverted and the glue of that airport arrival group and introducing everyone to each other. And it honestly, for me, when I was a student on it, passed like a blur. But for you, Sarah, what were your friendships like, and how did that play out?
I think there's not a lot to say that Taylor didn't say. There's a really special relationship that develops when you go from meeting each other to like sharing a hotel room that night. Especially with these hostels and like cool experiences you're all having together, it really fosters friendships and deep relationships. And I want to also shout out the people that I wasn't that close with on my gap year because I had a big cohort. You can't be friends with 100 people. I actually had some unexpected like comforts from everybody. If there was a time where I was homesick or I needed something, my friends were there for me, but usually I'd get like a crazy good piece of advice from somebody totally random that I only spoke to a couple times. And I think that's just the beauty of being part of a group of people that's having this experience. It's so unique that anybody who shares it is going to be bonded with you in a special way, whether or not that person is your best friend going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that that's super meaningful. And all of these programs vary in size as well. All of our fall departures are just 25 students. But yeah, when I did it, and it was structured a little bit differently, you're so right. You can't be best friends with everyone, especially, I mean, even in a group of just 25. So what I always say and how I think about it is you have so much time over the duration of 10 weeks or 23 weeks, whichever program you go on, that there are times to sit on the bus with everyone and times to, if you're on a walking tour, you can walk with different folks, and it gives a really great runway for everyone to be able to be fully in that community. So thank you for that, Sarah. I'm glad that was your experience too. Let's see. Maybe we could talk about, let's go with you, Taylor. Was there an activity or moment that you especially loved that brought you from the idea of being like on a vacation, which, you know, it can feel fun and vacation like at times, but a moment that really defined it as a gap year for you?
Yeah, so when we were in the Osa Peninsula, when I was in Costa Rica, we were going to release baby sea turtles, but you have to do it very early in the morning. So we had like a 4 a.m. wake up call, I think. And because you're in the middle of the rainforest, you have to like fully suit up. Everything's humid, so your clothes are damp. You're just like, putting your boots on, and you're like, it's 4 a.m. You're like, what am I doing right now? We take this like mile trek to the beach, and I literally have never seen anything like it. I took a video of it, and I remember I like posted it on my Instagram story or something, and people were like, where is this? Like, this literally looks like a dream. It was so crazy. I was like, am I living in a movie right now? But you get there, and you have just like this, all these baby sea turtles, and you just put them on the ground and you let them go. You like keep the birds away, and it's just like so surreal. You're like, what am I doing right now? Like, I'm literally like, these baby sea turtles are going to go into the ocean and grow into like it was just so mind-blowing. I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this right now. Like, I'm in the middle of the rainforest in a remote location. Like, it was like a pinch me moment. I was like, I'm doing good for the environment. Like, I'm helping the environment. And it was just like, when am I ever gonna be told, all right, wake up at 4 a.m., like suit up, we're going to release some baby sea turtles? Like, what? It was just so surreal to me. And yeah, that was definitely a moment that it like clicked for me. And I was like, wow, like I get to experience this. Like, I am able to have this opportunity. And I felt so grateful and so lucky.
I like what you said about pinch me moment. I had plenty of those too. Sarah, what about you? Was there a single, if you could pick one moment that solidified this as a gap experience for you, what would it be?
Yeah, this was like a funny goal I had with my friends to be a regular somewhere during our language study in Rome. We wanted to like be recognizable to employees and like, know people by name in the community. And so every day when I was walking to my language classes, I would pass this one restaurant and the maitre d' would always be outside and I would say hi to him, he would say hi to me. And like exchange pleasantries. And it was just cool to speak to a local. I'd practice my Italian on him and he never tried to correct me or like insult me about it. And then one day I saw him at my regular coffee shop that I was trying to become a regular at, and he paid for my coffee. And I was like, this is such a cool example of community and Italian hospitality. And I really felt like I was accepted into the culture and embraced by this man who was basically a stranger. And I got my goal of feeling like a regular somewhere and feeling like I had lived somewhere long term and integrated into the culture in a way that was welcome by the people around me.
Oh, I bet you would still be recognized by him, and I bet you made his day. Sort of just
I hope
being
so.
a friendly and local tourist. That's awesome. Um, okay, I love talking about on program. We could share stories all day, but let's actually talk about how this gap experience impacted you. Sarah, do you want to give us the overview on just your takeaways from the program, what you learned, and how you feel it's impacted your day to day?
Yeah, my most important thing on my gap year that I like got and learned was I have a great relationship with myself now. I did a lot of solo traveling, and on your gap year or whatever program you choose, you're going to be switching locations a lot. You're going to be moving around, and you are going to have this cohort and this SLC and your tour directors and everybody around you. But ultimately, there are going to be times where you have to rely on yourself. And it's something that I've been grateful to bring to college. A lot of people, their freshman year of college is their first time having to be by themselves. And I had already spent a year doing that. I was well practiced. I knew what I liked, what I didn't like, and I knew how I preferred to learn, how I preferred to run my day. And I'm also confident to do things by myself, whether that's like go to the movies or take on a bigger project. I can advocate for myself and I can involve myself in things in the ways that I want to be involved because I understand my own thought processes. And I think that that's something a lot of people don't develop until later. And it's a great thing to take with you to college and into your career.
Hmm. I emphasize all of what you said, especially the fact that you really learn to advocate for yourself and ask for help when you need it and ask questions when you're in doubt. And that is totally a skill I brought to college as well. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, so kind of like Sarah said, definitely a lot of personal growth. I became a lot more independent. I definitely my big thing was I wanted to push myself outside of my comfort zone and like say yes to any opportunity that came my way because I really just wanted to like fully take in the experience. And I think that that helped me grow so much because so many things I was like weary about or like scared to do. And I did it and I was like, wow, like that was amazing. Like I couldn't imagine not doing that. And so that definitely has helped me grow because I've taken that with me. Like now it's become more of like, oh, I don't know if I want to like apply for this job or like this internship because like what if they reject me? Like that's so scary. But like it's helped me to like push myself to like be more confident and feel more confident and just like do the things that scare me. And most of the time those end up having like a great outcome. And so it kind of just like proves to myself like I can do things, I can do hard things. But also just like I think it helped me a lot like put myself first and focus on what's best for me instead of focusing on like what other people think because that was something I really struggled with. Obviously, I didn't take the normal route of like college since I took my gap year in the middle of college. So I was really scared of being judged then, but my gap taught me like it doesn't matter what other people think. Like you have to do what's best for you, and like if they don't like it, like oh well.
Mm, exactly. Yeah, I felt like that too. I think when um, I brought the idea of taking a gap year to my friends, and not everyone was on board with that for me. And I sort of said, all right, well, I'm doing this thing. And turned out they were actually jealous of me when they went to college and I was, out and traveling. And I got to have an extra year in college when they were out in the real world getting a job and all those things. So, um, all of that and more. Thanks for that, Taylor. And then let's just quickly talk about Sarah, what have you been up to since your gap program?
So like I said earlier, I am at the University of Tampa getting my BA in theater. This December, I will have it and be done. But I also, like, since my gap year, I was reflecting on this, and I've capped the travel bug. I have not stayed in the USA more than 365 days in a row. So I went to Mexico with some of my classmates, and we made a documentary there. I visited my gap year best friend in her new home in Berlin. And then my family and I went to go see Machu Picchu. And this fall, really recently, I studied abroad in Spain and I went to new places almost every weekend. So my gap year gave me the travel bug. And since my gap year, I've been up to having other great gap years, little gap weeks.
I love it. I love it. Taylor, tell us what you've been up to since your gap year.
So since my gap, I'm now a student at College of Charleston. I'm getting my BS in business administration. I'm going to be an upcoming senior this fall, so I'm graduating in May. Very exciting. I also have the travel bug, but unfortunately, I haven't had as many opportunities to go. I was planning to study abroad in school, but I'm actually graduating a year early, so I kind of put that on a pause, and I'm hoping to potentially join the Peace Corps after I graduate. So hopefully, my goal is to like teach somewhere abroad. I think I would really enjoy that, or just like do service work somewhere abroad. Um, so yeah, but that's basically what I'm up to. Nothing too crazy.
Travel bug all around. And I'll actually throw myself in the question pool. I it really influenced what I would study or what I ended up studying in college. I went in really undecided, and I came out of the gap year with an interest in global studies. I wanted to study international relations. Went into a global studies program at UNC, and then I learned enough. I also studied Italian in Rome, just like Sarah, on my full EF gap year. I ended up minoring in Italian, and now I have these Italian skills I'm trying to use around Boston, which maybe have to go back to Italy for that piece. And also minoring in art history, and I bring a lot of context from my gap year I brought into that program, and so it can help you solidify career goals. You could also just meet someone abroad who does something really great that you get interested in, and the opportunities are truly endless. So um, I like hearing those answers from both of you, and I'm glad that it's had that impact. Let's see. Can you tell us a little bit about has the gap year? I guess I kind of answered this for myself, but has the gap year influenced your interests in college or post college? I know you're sort of both thinking of continuing to travel. Taylor, tell us just a little more. I think you kind of already answered this, but anything you'd want to add?
Um, Not that I can think of, but it definitely did influence because I was also I was undecided on my major my freshman year. Um, but definitely it did influence what I see myself doing in the future as a career. I'm still not 100% sure, but that's okay. I still have a lot of
Yep.
time. But not even like my gap year, but also just this internship. Like my gap year opened doors for me. Like I didn't know that doing a gap would lead to a possible internship. And so that's been crazy and very exciting. And I think it's helped lead. Like now I am my main goal, hopefully, if I don't do the Peace Corps, is I'd love to be an SLC for EF gap year, just because my SLCs had such an impact on me and were such awesome people. Not to hype you up too much, Helen, but you did make a big impact on my trip, and I would love to be able to do that for someone else who was in
Mm.
my position that I was once in. So.
Yep. That's totally the idea that I had to after my gap. And Sarah, what about you?
My gap year influenced my interest a lot, obviously, because I've done a lot of travel since then. But I also learned a lot about history randomly. You just kind of pick it up because EF is always taking you on some type of tour or to a really cool site, and you learn a lot of things, and it always sticks in my head really easily. So I actually am a history minor at school, and it's just fun to be in the person in the group that can like answer those little niche questions and stuff. And history really helps with like comprehension and literacy skills and stuff. So that's really awesome. And much like Taylor, I would love to be an SLC someday. We did not have them on my program, but that's the dream job. So yeah.
And just to circle back, if anyone missed my definition of the SLC or the student life coordinator at the very beginning, this is your main support person, along with the tour director or the field director in any given EF-GAP program. They're there, for any support that students need throughout, which is really unique, actually. When you look at a lot of different types of programs, it totally levels up the safety element and then that community feel as well. But thank you for that, Sarah. I think we're just going to do maybe one or two more questions here, and then I'll give you a sort of tie it up with a bow what the next steps in all of this look like and we'll answer any questions in the chat. Let's see. What was the transition from the gap to college for both of you like? Let's point it back to you, Sarah.
This one was really hard for me. We did have a workshop on my gap year that was about transitioning us out of the gap year and into college, or some kids were going to trade schools or other post-grad plans. So I had like the coping skills I needed in terms of dealing with reverse culture shock and all that. But I definitely it's a big adjustment, obviously. I missed being with my friends. I missed traveling, but I found that staying in contact with my friends and remembering why I'm grateful to actually live where I live and do what I'm doing now helped. And I just hold on to what I learned on my gap year. And that's the best way for me to stay adjusted to what my life is now.
I love it. I love it. Taylor, what about you? How was that transition from one school to the other after your gap?
Yeah, so it was definitely hard too. I also had some reverse culture shock, like Sarah said. And yeah, it was a big change because not only was I coming back from traveling, but I was also going into a whole new place after being used to one school. So it was hard, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't really know what to expect. And because I had such a tough time my freshman year, I was really worried, what if that happens again? But I think I had such a positive growth mindset throughout my gap that it really helped me, and I was able to take all the skills that I had learned from my gap and being so independent, and that really helped me with the transition. And also, like Sarah said, staying in contact with your friends. We came back in middle of April, I believe, and we all somehow are from all over the US, but somehow managed to all meet in the Midwest at one of our friends' house, and we all spent the 4th of July together. So that was awesome. And like I said, we all keep in contact. We have big life updates. We'll even text in the WhatsApp group chat with our whole cohort. And so, like Sarah said, just holding on to the memories, knowing that I'm grateful to have experienced this, and just reminiscing on it. I just feel so grateful, and I also love talking about it. So that's something for me. If you've met me, I told you about my gap. So
Yeah.
that's really valuable to me as well.
Good. I think that's something the three of us have in common. All my friends are like, Helen, it was 6 years ago now. You got to find some new content for our conversations, right? But it's how it goes. Let's wrap it up with one final piece of wisdom from each of you. If you could give a tip to these students thinking about taking a gap year, what would you tell them? Sarah, you want to start us off?
Hello. Okay. I would just say yes to everything. I know it's so cliche, but the first step you need to do is say yes to taking a gap year. You need to do that. And then say yes to literally everything on your gap year. Even if you're scared or if you're not sure, do it scared, do it unsure. You're going to learn something. You're going to have a valuable experience. You may even get over a fear, and it's going to be really cool. There's almost no reason you should say no or hesitate. There's always going to be safety measures in place. You're never going to be asked to do something that's harmful. So if you feel a little bit nervous, that's good. Laugh about it. Tell your friends you're nervous, bond over it, and then do it anyway.
That's great advice. Just in life in general. I'm going to start taking that into my life more. Taylor, You want to wrap us up with your words of wisdom?
Yes, that's a lot of pressure. Wow. Um, kind of, I know I mentioned this before, but I think just everyone is on a different timeline, so like know that, don't compare yourself to where anyone else is in their life. And kind of like Sarah said, just like push yourself outside of your comfort zone. You're never going to like learn and grow if you stay in a bubble of like where you've been your whole life, and do the things that scare you, like Sarah said. But yeah, push yourself outside of your comfort zone, keep an open mind. Those were the things that really helped me.
Great advice. Great advice, both of you. And thank you both so much for all of the stories that you shared and the inspiration. I always leave these wanting to take another gap year. So I hope you've left that impression on our folks here today. With that, first, before we get to these questions, I'm going to talk about what the next steps look like to enroll in any of these programs. And a couple pieces to note here, just quickly. If you're considering a fall program, we are rolling admissions and our departures are all almost full. And in transparency, we have about, I think, 8 to 9 spots left on the gap year before we move to a wait list. And this is why we see many students and families planning as soon as now for 2026 and beyond also. The admissions process from here would be connecting directly with your gap year consultant who will line out the program logistics in greater detail and walk through an enrollment interview with you. If you haven't heard from our team yet, to schedule time over a call or an email, you will on Friday, not tomorrow because our office will be closed tomorrow in observance of Juneteenth. Um, so yes, moral of the story, you will hear from your gap year consultant. You might have already heard from them. Feel free to send them a quick text to try and set up time. They might get it tonight. They might get it Friday. And now let's tackle some questions in the chat. Let me go quickly first. I see just a question. I might just take these logistical ones quickly. Is there an internship only semester program? Not through us. So if you're looking for strictly an internship, we would point you in another direction. Our full gap year program builds you up in the first semester to be a really strong independent traveler, and then you have that internship experience in the second half. So it's the 2 semester experience. Looks like a question for Taylor. This is awesome. I'm in the situation, I'm going to read it out for everyone. I'm in the situation of heading into a gap semester or year and wanting to reapply to schools for the following year. How was that for you to need to deal with applying to colleges again while on the gap year? That's such a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Taylor, take us away.
So I actually had a really, really special experience with that because I ended up kind of going on a whim. I only applied to one school when I was on my gap, and it was because I had met my now best friend, and she was like, "I want to go here," and I was like, "If you go there, I'll go there, like for fun." So that was kind of on a whim because I genuinely like didn't really know um where I wanted to go, but obviously I did have to apply to the school while I was on my gap. I would say it wasn't very hard. Like you have free days, you have free time. As long as you're diligent about like, okay, like knowing your due dates and like just keeping that in the back of your mind. I literally did my application in during an airport layover and did it then. Um, Especially if you are transferring, normally the applications are shorter. I know mine was like through the website as opposed to like Common App, which is a lot longer. But either way, even if I was applying to multiple schools, I definitely would have had enough time. I don't think it's hard. And also, you can always talk to your SLC about it and they'll help like make sure you have time to get important things like that done.
Mm-hmm. So true. As a student life coordinator myself, I was helping proofread essays, and I had plenty of students who were reapplying to schools or applying for the first time. They would sort of like power hour, let's go to the coffee shop where there's good Wi-Fi and grind out some college apps and talk decision making. And in the spring, everyone was getting decisions back, and it was exciting and scary at the same time, and really clarifying for everyone. So that's totally a normal part of a lot of folks' gap year and something that we know how to support you on. And you will have to, take some initiate or some ownership over that yourself too, which makes you all the more excited and bought into the plan. And then our other question here, would be, are the trips 10 weeks straight, or do you come home for a period of time in between trips? We have those two types of program, a semester and a year. The semester trips are 10 weeks long. They're 10 weeks straight, so you wouldn't come home in that 10-week period. But, it would be from September to mid-November or late November. The gap year is 2 semesters, first semester being 12 weeks. You don't come home within that 12 weeks, but you do go home at the end of the 12 weeks, spend your winter break home with family, go back in the spring for another 11-week semester. So yes, they are straight through, except for the gap year, which you have a break in between. And I think that wraps up our questions. We made great time, everyone. I'm so thankful for both of you for being on here tonight. And also, they will be around during the summer as an awesome resource if you are really excited to speak with them, or if you have specific questions, let your gap year consultant know, and we will be more than happy to connect you and also give these two the chance to talk about the experience more, which is something that we all love to do. So thank you so much. I see a question really quick about packing. Actually, let's talk this packing question really quick. If you need to hop off, totally fine. This is a really good question. Sarah, you want to tell us really quickly about your packing methods?
EF released a packing list. You should look at it because there are some more niche things you're going to need. Like if you're doing the Pathfinder, Changemaker, you might need some gloves or something. I know I did that for my service in Costa Rica. And in terms of packing, you're going to want to pack light because you're going to carry that yourself. Nobody's going to help you. Everybody had roller bags on my program. We found that was fine. One full-size check bag. Some people also had a carry-on. Most people who had the carry-on first semester had ditched it by second because it gets really annoying. I would say fill a check bag and your backpack with a couple tops, couple pairs of jeans, swimsuits. You're good. You don't need a lot, guys.
True. And if you're anything like me, you will buy things along the way and accumulate way too much stuff. So moral of the story, don't pack too much. Don't pack. I had one student who brought his 2 favorite t-shirts and his 2 favorite pants. He did not have enough clothes. So don't do that. But you'll have a packing list and you'll be all set. And with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for everyone for joining. And thank you both amazing interns for being here tonight. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.